This brand has made about 65,000 bucks so far this year while being on what we call vacation mode. And there's a very specific tactic that we've implemented in this brand to make this happen that you can carry over into any last minute Q2 planning that you're doing right now. And these numbers aren't huge or meaningful, but it's more about how they've come about that I really appreciate. So let's unpack what vacation mode means, and then let's talk about the tactic. So when it comes to vacation mode, there's really three things that we mean by that. The first is it's a seasonal brand. So the months of January to March, and even going into April, tend to be slower year over year, which leads to the second thing, which is low priority, just within the scope of all the other projects that are going on with this team on a macro level. And the third thing is minimal active initiatives. So nothing too hard when it comes to strong pushes to try to drive up revenue and profit volume in this time period. However, like a vacation, with the proper planning, we are still able to cruise along and bring in some healthy numbers despite being on vacation mode. So let's talk about the tactic. And the tactic is actually related to going on vacation. So let's say in April, that's coming up in a few days, you have decided to go on a month-long vacation. But before you go on vacation, you make some preparations where on the first of either the first day, aka Monday of every week, you ask one of your good friends to come in and check on everything in your home, making sure there's no leaks, there's nothing crazy going on, no windows broken, everything's okay. Just a general walk through the house to make sure all is good. Similarly, if you're going on vacation mode with your business, or even if you're not and you're just planning for the upcoming months of April, May, and June, you'll want to have a plan. And in our case, the tactic that we supported on when it comes to driving the revenue during vacation mode was having a marketing calendar. And in our case, what we like to say is it's a minimalist marketing calendar. A minimalist marketing calendar where we keep things as simple and as clear and as easy to digest as possible. And the reason why marketing calendars, from our perspective, are so powerful is because of the stuff that is mentioned right here. Thanks to Robert Cialdini, who you may or may not know, has written a lot about persuasion and influence that ties into marketing. So instead of reading all this, let me just draw a little bit of a picture for you where, let's say we have a lineup of people who are waiting to use a photocopier. And that's a very big photocopier for the size of the people. And let's say this person who is just coming in comes over here to the front and they say some magical words that cause this person and this person and this person and everybody else to say, sure, you can cut ahead, no problem. Well, that's all explained up here, which is the use of the word because. And it's interesting. So let's read it now that we have the picture. Is researchers had someone approach people waiting to use a copy machine and ask to cut in line. They tested 3 versions of the request. Number 1, excuse me, I have 5 pages. May I use a Xerox machine? The compliance rate on that is 60%, so more than half of the people. Second one, excuse me, I have 5 pages. May I use the Xerox machine because I'm in a rush? Compliance rate, 94%. And then the coolest one is the third reason, or the third one, which is, excuse me, I have 5 pages. May I use the Xerox machine because I have to make copies? A compliance rate of 93%. And here's why it's interesting. It's all written here. Even though the third reason, because I have to make copies, is redundant, people still complied at a high rate because the word because was used. And so how does that tie back to this and this? It ties back because your marketing calendar allows you to be very strategic and systematic in answering what we call the implied because. I have a belief that similar to the photocopier situation, where if you have a reason, and even if it's not a reason that really makes sense to cut in line and do your photocopies first. Similarly, as a brand, if you have a reason to have a sale or a reason rather for people to buy, they also take that too and say, well, I guess I got to buy. And what it helps with is driving up, when done well, urgency, when it's true, and ultimately your conversion rate. So let's go from abstract to actually boots on the ground, looking at an example of a brand that is doing this really well. So this is Original Grain. They sell watches made of reclaimed materials like whiskey barrels and ammo crates, and they're growing really quickly. And what I have here, I'm just going to scroll around a little bit and then come back to the bottom. What I have here is a collection of their emails that they've been sending. And what you can see as I scroll slowly, you can see that they send every single day. And just a little bit of a nuance so that it's not confusing. You'll see that there's a lot of stuff, or rather you'll see a lot of repetition where they are sending 2 on the same day many times. And my observation of that is just because they are split testing their subject lines. So don't worry about that. The core of how this ties into the conversation about marketing calendars is they're using a marketing calendar. There is a plan for the marketing team to support in addressing the implied because. So let's go down and then we'll work in chronological order to really soak in this example. So you'll see here, January 7th, Valentine's Day starts now, or Valentine's Day sale starts now. And then on the 8th, they have Whiskey Wednesday, which sounds like a reason to buy. Then they have the Valentine's Day early bird sale on the 9th, Friday happy hour. Like every single time, every single day, there's like a reason. There's a reason to pay attention and there's a reason to buy. So let's keep going and find some more tangible examples of the utilization of start dates and end dates which drive urgency. So here's a good example where they ran a promotion during the halftime at the Super Bowl. And to my knowledge, this was a really good promotion that brought in a lot of sales. You can see some core components of the promotion, which is the code is only valid for the duration of the halftime show on February the 9th. Sign up to get an extra $50 off your watch purchase tonight during the big game halftime show. And then also on top of that, you can save up to $100. So as we keep going, they have an early access spring sale that they announce. And then there's last call on a specific collection, the TRD collection, and then a daylight savings flash sale on the 8th of March. So ongoing, repeatedly, there's always a reason to buy from them. And the consumer always has that implied because answered. So if I am in the market for one of their watches and I see an example for a daylight savings flash sale, I might be like, now's as good of a time as any other to get it. I might as well get it now because there's a sale. And just switching back to the whiteboard, Alex Hormozi actually brought this story up in the past where he, I believe, was the president of a fraternity. And one of the ways that he would get people to parties is he would have a reason why every time. And I think one of the reasons that he would throw parties is Tom, let's say, got his wisdom teeth taken out, right? So they have a party to celebrate getting wisdom teeth out. So it's yet another iteration, another example of how oftentimes as consumers, including ourselves, if we have a reason why to do something, we just do it. And the reason doesn't have to be super logical. Simply having a reason is a reason enough. And I want to hop back over to Original Grain for a second. And now we're no longer looking at their emails. We're looking at the ads that they're running or have ran previously. And I bring this up because planning your marketing calendar is not just relevant to your email and your SMS and your owned audiences. It's also relevant to what you end up putting in your ad account to drive new customer acquisition. Because customers, or rather new customers or people who haven't purchased from you yet, also benefit from having a reason to buy that you give them to help with tipping them over the edge. So as an example, you can see during their Valentine's promotions, they ran ads in their ad account related to Valentine's Day, which is why having a calendar can be so helpful, because you can plan all of these things in advance. And also it's the central place from which all of the other assets become created when it comes to what emails are you going to send, what SMS are you going to send, what ads are you going to load into the ad account. All of that is dictated by the marketing calendar and allows for those units of your business to not be disjointed in the messaging. So we have a very minimalist framework for how we go about planning the marketing calendar. And the framework is the CASH framework. So the C stands for calendar and simply dates. When does it begin? When does it end? That way we have natural moments to get excited about things and for consumers to get excited about things. And the one that I care most about is the end date, because urgency drives conversions. The A stands for audience, and that is simply who are we talking to? So we have clarity around the messaging, vocabulary, and imagery that we want to use in communicating to this person or people. S stands for story, which is the narrative that we want to use, because at the end of the day, if we boil things down to first principles, we are all selling widgets in direct to consumer. And so people aren't buying widgets, they are buying the narrative and the story that we give them. And the last one is the hook, which is not the same as the hook that you use in ads, which is usually the first 3 seconds of a video or something attention grabbing in an image. But rather the hook is the sharpest part of the reason why, which often boils down to your offer / your promotion. So these 4 components give you a structured way and a simple way of planning out events on your calendar. So let's do a bit of an example with a hypothetical brand that sells eggs that carry your Pilates mat. And that's just top of mind for me because my wife has recently gotten interested in Pilates. So what we have coming up right now, it's currently March the 26th. What we have coming up as a marketing moment that most of us can take advantage of is Mother's Day. So Mother's Day is on May the 11th this year, but we want people to get their orders before then. So what we can do is start the promotion before that and also end it to allow for the products to arrive in time for Mother's Day. So we can set a date of April 28th to, let's say, May 4th as a deadline. So there's a week for things to arrive. And that's it. That covers the calendar portion of the framework. Audience, as an example, let's say it's for the daughters who want to buy a Pilates mat bag for their mom. So we can say daughters of women who do Pilates. So now we know who we're speaking to. And then the story or the narrative that we can use to give meaning to this event could be the angle of, because she's carried so much for you. And we could elaborate on that in the messaging and the copy, but the angle can be sort of like a give back to your mom because of all the burdens that she's carried for you and all the challenges that she's gone through in order to raise you to where you are right now. And then the hook, so the offer promotion, we could do free $100 gift card with every purchase. And the great thing about this is that there is no hit on the initial transaction when it comes to your margin. And that's it. That's an example of what planning out a portion of your marketing calendar can look like from a minimalist approach. And the thing we like about this framework is that planning your marketing calendar, in my perspective, exists on a spectrum. And so if you are currently doing zero planning for a marketing calendar, this can take you to about 80%. And then you can get more creative, you can add more complexity, you can add more details, you can add KPI targets, all that sort of stuff. But the foundation of your marketing calendar can be this simple, where you know when something is happening, when it's ending, who you're talking to, what the narrative is, and then what the offer is, as a foundation and a starting point. And the benefit is that if you are here and currently have no process for your marketing calendar, you can very quickly come to here. And on the other side of that, if you have a complex marketing calendar that's all the way on this side, you can consider simplifying and coming back over here. And just hopping back to Original Grain as an example, who I think is doing it at the world-class level. I have found in my experience, the more simple your planning process is, the more quickly you can move like they are. Where every single day, I'll just scroll a little bit slower, every single day, they've got something going out, giving consumers a reason why and answering that implied because. So to round things off, that's how this vacation mode period has been a success. And even if you're not on vacation mode, I think you can still benefit from having a plan, having a calendar, and giving your consumers an implied because and a reason why. So if you like this kind of stuff, just scroll down to the description box and you can check out our links. We have one at the top that goes to our newsletter where every single day I send you insights to help you with growing more profitably. I'll see you in the next one.